Hello, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. We are at part 4, last and final part of the Jane Reth case. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is very strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's dive back into the last part of Jane Reth. Now that Jane had been caught and ultimately came clean about the murder, Rita Colville was able to stop worrying about what happened to her son. Kenneth Colville passed away in 2004 without ever knowing what truly happened to his only son. Rita Colville, Scott's mom, told the press, and I quote, "In one aspect it's less painful to have the knowledge that they didn't cease loving you." She also goes on to say, "Realistically, I would have rather her plead guilty rather than go to trial because there is no body and there never will be because she disposed so thoroughly of my son's body. Hopefully she's incarcerated for a long time. Scott deserves that. He can't speak for himself. The least I can do is be there for him and ask that she gets the harshest sentence." Unquote. Jane Reth, the killer, was charged with first-degree murder and felony tampering of evidence. Christopher Reth was listed as a witness on the original murder indictment for the prosecution pertaining to his ex-wife. Now that they were no longer married, he was free to testify against her. For all these years, she went by Jane Lim, living in the suburbs of Chicago. At one point, she worked for the Geneva School District. On February 4th, 2010, she pled not guilty and asked the court to refer to her by her current legal name, Jane Reth, and not what she went by back then as Jane Lim when she committed the murder. The now 45-year-old Jane entered her plea via phone call from the Lemon Creek Correctional Center where she was extradited to. Judge David George heard the prosecution asked for 70 years based on the seriousness of this offense. The judge also heard Jane's defense attorney citing her 15 years of good work and mission trips with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. One of Jane's co-workers from the Chicago area testified in favor of Jane, describing how she was service-minded, caring person who donated to charity. That is a quote. The judge also heard the prosecution prove with a confession and DNA evidence that on or about Scott Colville's 26th birthday of April 13th of 1988, his wife of a couple of months shot him to death, cut him into pieces, and disposed of his body. Unfortunately, Scott's remains were never found as they were most likely burned in a municipal incinerator. On March of 2011, Jane Reth, aka Lim, aka Jane Nina Suchina, pleaded guilty for second-degree murder, and although she faced 99 years in prison, the judge handed her a 36-year prison sentence with the possibility of parole after 24 years. That possibility is coming up in 2035, in about 10 years, maybe even less than that, where she will be around 70. Yet Scott Colville will be forever 26 years old. When given the opportunity to speak at her sentencing, Jane had the following to say: "I don't know what I could say anything to make anything better. I do know I'm very sorry for what I've done. I thought about it for a very long time. And I've thought about what I could say today. There isn't a whole lot I could say," unquote. She basically said a lot of nothing. She expressed wishing she would have done things differently and taken the opportunity to get help when her marriage was in shambles due to her, quote, lack of maturity at the time, unquote. The judge said that she showed a level of calculation and meticulous callousness in the way she went about doing what she did, and ending with saying, "You did nothing to relieve the anguish of the friends and family," unquote. We've reached the end of today's episode over here at Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. Thank you so much for coming down the rabbit hole where I currently live. Stay tuned for the next episode on the next case. Make sure to follow me on all socials by the same handle. My IG is bayarea.housewife. You also can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcast at Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. If you like my content, do me a solid and rate my show wherever you listen. As always, I accept and respect your opinions. I welcome all comments, questions, case suggestions, etc. Call me, beat me at yayareahousewife@gmail.com. I'll see you chismosas y chismosos in the next. Adios.